Welcome to Reunite with Self podcast. I'm your host, Rukan. Here, we will be discovering and unraveling what is truly holding you back. We will put the puzzle together and give you clarity on how and what you can do to create massive shift in your life so you start creating the life you always envisioned for yourself. There is no more waiting. Whether it is liberating from dysfunctional family patterns or parenting tools and tips that actually make the difference, we will be diving into the truth and core of things that are simple and which yet no one talks about. I will be sharing with you all the things that would have changed my life massively if I heard any one of these episodes. A new world is awakening, and true bliss, harmony, and peace is possible on this earth. And my mission is to bring you closer to that, one step at a time. In this safe space, I will hold your hand and give you courage and certainty that you can shift anything and everything in your life. It is time we break the pattern. Whether you want to be the parent you never had or make a shift in your life so you don't play small any longer, you will find the support and guidance in this space. My intention is for you to find answers within yourself while you listen to this podcast, so you feel the bliss of reuniting with your true essence, with self, with so much love and compassion and courage. From my heart to yours, let's keep it rockin'. My gorgeous listener, thank you for being here. Welcome to another episode on Reunite with Self. It has been a very busy day, and I just relaxed listening to Jamiroquai, my all-time favorite musician ever, and I feel great. Now I'm doing a poll on on my Instagram. My Instagram is Kevela, so I don't have a separate Instagram page right now for Reunite with Self, but I might in the future. Right now, I am managing 3 of my Instagram pages, so it's a lot because I'm quite active on all. And one of them is my Turkish podcast. If you speak Turkish, I have another Turkish podcast. It's on the show notes here. So in my Kevela, my GoddessWear brand page is where I post things about this podcast. So if you are a woman, especially, you would love it. It's Kevela, Khewella. It's on the show notes as well. Give it a follow, and I post anything related to this podcast there about new episodes, new things coming up, just my tips and tricks. Sometimes I do reels and stuff like that. So you will hear a lot about this podcast on my page there. And I am doing a poll right now. It's active on my stories, and it's like 50%, 50% for, I asked you what you would prefer me to do for the topics because I was not getting many responses. So I did a poll instead of like giving options, and it's right now 50-50 for narcissistic father and narcissistic mother. And so I decided I will begin with one of them now. And so on this episode, we're going to be talking about narcissistic father, a father who has narcissistic tendencies, behavior. How do you know? How do you know if your father or someone that you know, but probably you're listening to regarding your own father, or it might be your mother too. This is all like relative, like it's all not relative. Sorry, it's all, you can apply this to your other parent as well. But there are specific things that I see as a pattern on like gender, like father, son, father, daughter experience, and the tendencies that a mother has with her daughter and her son. It's usually some specific patterns. There are sometimes some differences. So yeah, let's begin. So how do you know if your father, maybe your father, you've had difficulties in the past, and right now maybe you don't have like difficulties with him, but there might be things in your life that you are stuck. that there is no real true movement. It's not going where it's fulfilling you. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways you can understand if there is narcissism in your father, if there is narcissistic behavior. So why do we want to know this? Why is the most important? When I put the puzzle together regarding my life, it was like in a moment, in like split of a second, I made the decision to truly change my life and have healthy boundaries. And like my life changed tremendously after that point. But it only happened when I realized that there was something happening in a pattern. I always knew I had difficulties with certain family members and, a lot of people, different people in my life, but I never knew that there was narcissism. I did not know what narcissism really meant. I thought it had to be some extreme story. And we are just learning, like we just have started hearing about this. People started being more curious, being more open and honest, and seeing the difference of what a healthy relationship is and what healthy attachment is, and what are the possibilities when you are in a loving relationship, a healthy, loving relationship where it never has to be perfect. We will always break hearts and hurt the ones that we love the most. We will do it no matter what. This is human experience, but are we open to repair? Are we open to see what we have caused? Are we accountable for our actions and our words? Do we want to know how the other person felt when we said something? Are we conscious to the fact that if we talk about the other person's life, it's that person's life and not ours? So it's always more challenging for them. These are the questions. So why do we want to know if there is narcissistic behavior in your father? When you understand this, then you understand that it has been in a certain pattern to cause big influence in your life. If you have a father who has narcissistic tendencies, and I feel for you, I have so much empathy for you. It's not easy to accept it because it comes with many other things. It involves you, how they see you, what you can have with them, what you can truly have with them, what kind of relationship, love, all that stuff. It's not easy, but we're not here to do easy things. We can do the hard things so we can have an easier life and a fulfilling life, not just easy, but fulfilling life. So when I realized that there is a lot of narcissism in my family, I come from Turkey. There is so much narcissism, a lot of toxic attachment styles in different ways, shapes, forms, techniques, subtitles. There is like different narcissism going on. Not all of them to me, but I see it happening to other people in my family from their parents or like siblings or whatever, like husband, wife, and all of that. When you realize that there has been narcissism, then you understand what kind of impact it had on you. It was not actually instances of here and there where he said this, he did this, he said this. Like it was not so random instances which broke your heart, but it actually was done in a systematic way. Like the way the brain of a narcissist works is very different from someone who has a lot of empathy and compassion for others. It is very different. And we will talk about this now too. But it changes everything when you are courageous and honest enough with yourself, when you are truly honest with yourself, and when you are courageous, meaning you're scared, but you're still doing it, to admit and accept that your father has been very narcissistic with you your whole entire life, maybe on specific areas of your life, but it all it has this kind of ripple effect. It affects all areas of your life. He might be hard on you, quote unquote, like in air quotes, hard on you. Like he's not being difficult. He was being narcissistic, but he was maybe being hard on you on certain areas of your life. He was making your life really miserable on certain areas of your life. Maybe with subtitles, with different techniques, styles, ways, shapes, forms, lifestyles, characters, personalities, life stories, different ways. Whatever works on you, they do. Like depending on your nature, your intelligence, your capacity, it just becomes more and more hidden. It never is not visible. It's always very clear that they have been narcissistic with you. But if you are an empath, if you have a lot of compassion and love, like that's just your nature, then you always you tend to find so much excuse for other people's behavior. And it's not easy for you to admit to yourself that they're doing it, knowing that it causes so much pain in you and so many other things, so many other things that you're giving up on. It's not easy for you to admit this. And that's why you waited maybe until now. Maybe you realized this a couple of months ago. Maybe you started realizing this a year ago, maybe, I don't know, before that. Or you're just thinking now, being more curious, is there something to this? Because things are not moving in my life. There is this kind of stuck thing, and it looks as if I'm doing all the things, but things are not moving, or maybe you are not even taking the actions that you want to take, like you're maybe conscious of it. And we'll talk all about this, by the way, how just taking action is not even enough. You really need to be having the ropes of your life and really be in your own energy and really have very healthy boundaries. So first of all, I want to say I'm not going to talk about what you can do in this episode. So please DM me at Kevela if you want me to do an episode on if you have a narcissistic father, a father with narcissistic tendencies, behavior. If you want me to do an episode on what can I do? And if you can give me some information, even better. I can make a very specific episode on just what you can do in that situation. The more information, the better, because I can be very specific and I can really guide you and give you different ideas on what you can do to make a shift, a big change in your life for the better. And your life is never going to be the same. The fact that you're listening to this episode means that you're open to it now. And I congratulate you. I honor you. I see you. It's big. It's really huge. If I heard any one of these episodes 3 years ago, my life would have been different. But I am so grateful for everything that has happened because it's the reason that I am doing all of this now. It means a lot to me. I know it makes a huge change in people's lives. It makes a huge change in people's lives. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now, because I know how it feels, and I know what it does to you, what it does to your life. So it's time to start creating your incredible life and getting the ropes of your life and really start creating something that you truly believe in. and all the effort you put into it, you're not going to feel the frustration that you used to feel. My feeling was, my before life was, I was very frustrated, always. In the back of my mind, in the back of the emotions, like one of my home emotions was being restless and being frustrated. And I might talk about my own story here too. So let's get to it. So how do you know if you have a father who has narcissistic tendencies, behavior, or even maybe personality disorder? It doesn't really make a difference if he has this or that. It just makes a huge influence on your life. And that's what we want to change. So the first sign that your father might have narcissistic tendency is that if specific areas have always had a heavy energy with them, if specific areas of your life, specific areas of life, work, career, I don't know, romantic life, sports, like I don't know what his interests are. If specific areas have always been heavy, like had a heavy energy with them, if like usually is tendency, they usually tend to have a tendency to be very critical, to be very cutthroat in their opinions and in their beliefs about, let's say if it's about work or money or making money or finances or security, they tend to have very cutthroat ideas since you were a child, very black or white, or they are in like a separation mentality a lot, like everything is so difficult. Being successful requires like killing yourself for it almost. Like being successful requires a lot. But how you tell this to a child makes the huge difference. This type tends to have very strong language, like their tongue is like a knife. The way they speak, they usually tend to have very strong words for things, and it has, believe it or not, it has huge effect on the child when you use strong words because they take it literal. Whereas maybe you're not good with expressing your emotions, and instead of owning that emotion, like saying, I'm scared, blah, 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 of course, like in a way that is healthy for the child, instead of owning the emotion, this kind of father, narcissistic person, tend to have a very cutthroat, black or white, life is tough, making money is very hard. Like that language is not right. Because yes, you might be putting a lot of effort to get something, and that is part of the journey. But if you talk about it, like I believe how you talk about something shows who you are. You might have a tremendously challenging experience, but you may also be honest with yourself to be grateful, maybe grateful to have that job, grateful to have your business, grateful that you can work, grateful that you are healthy, grateful maybe that you choose to do that work, whatever it is. Grateful that you can provide for your family, grateful for this and that. Like that is the whole truth. But they never tell the whole truth. It's always like they're a victim, they're very alone, like whatever their language is very cutthroat. So it's not healthy for the child when it's like repetitive. And this is done on purpose to activate the child. So the second one is they never have the ability to make you feel like you can do, create, accomplish what you put your mind into. They never have this tendency. They never make you feel like you're enough. I mean making you feel like you are enough. They might show you in ways that they really love you. They might show you in ways that you are really worthy and say things like that. It doesn't have to be all or nothing for someone to be narcissistic. And sometimes it's like breadcrumbs. Sometimes in certain things they do, but they go back to their own world, so they're not really present. They might show affection in some ways, but they can never be available for your emotions. So usually if there is someone narcissistic as a parent, and let's say in this case, a father, they can never be present for the emotions of the child. They reject the child's emotions. They never want to hear about it. If they do, they create shame for the child. They even criticize and judge the child for having these challenging emotions. They use that against you to make you feel even worse. Don't be, I don't know what word to use here, but don't be such a wuss or whatever. They create a lot of shame, and so you lower your energy even more. Like they might have done something. It might be related to them. It might be related to life. It might be related to your, you go to kindergarten, you go to school, an experience in school with some other person, your teacher, anything. A child goes through things, and it's the parents' responsibility to be following the child's emotions and being present when the child wants to express. So this is never the case. They shame you for being weak, for having challenging emotions, which is not the case at all. The tendency of the father who has a narcissistic abuse, like a tendency, is this. Like in summary, I can tell you the main tendency of a narcissistic father is that instead of owning their emotions, instead of owning their feelings, they dump that onto you. They make you feel what they are scared to feel. So instead of feeling the emotion themselves, they find a way to dump that shit onto the child. So instead of owning the fact that they might feel lack, or that they're not enough, or they don't feel they're worthy, they maybe felt it when they were a child in an instant, and they rejected that. That created narcissism in them instantly. And so instead of owning that feeling, if they're going through a tough time at work, they come home and they make the child feel like she or he is not worthy, she or he is not enough. So I know that you understand what I'm saying. Instead of owning that emotion, instead of feeling that emotion, he dumps that onto the child. So the child has no idea, because they see the father as the God, no matter how he looks like to an adult, to like an outsider. No matter what he does, he and she the child sees the father as the God. So whatever the father says, you take it as the truth, even if it doesn't feel right to you, that, you may not be enough, this or that, it still affects you tremendously. And so the main thing of a narcissistic father is that instead of owning and feeling their emotions, they never feel their emotions if it's challenging. You never see the strength. They might feel that they might seem so strong, but it's this narcissistic thing. It's not the real strength. They might feel so strong, blah, 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 but it's the narcissistic face, like the mask. It is not the true strength. A strong man would never make a strong man would never make a child feel that way constantly in a systematic way, and never repair, never go to repair, never be open to it, not being accountable ever. So the main thing I can tell you, the main thing of a narcissistic father is that instead of owning the emotions they felt when they were a child, and so because they don't feel it, it just follows them all throughout their life, no matter how successful they might be, no matter what intelligence, popularity, accomplishments, grandiose, like whatever it is, like whatever they get from outside, it's never enough for them to feel enough. But they never own the emotion. So the way that they get rid of it, how the narcissistic system works, how their brain works, is that they, instead of feeling it, they just dump it onto the other person. This is how it works in narcissistic relationships, period. Instead of owning their own emotions, they make you feel that way. I've had this so many times, and I realized this when the puzzle came together, like where actually it was coming from in my life. Instead of, like, if you have any problems or patterns in your romantic life, just know that it is coming from somewhere. If I think I wrote it on the other point, but if you have the pattern of, let me go to the third one. So, and I'll talk about it there. So the third one is certain areas of your life, although you know you have potential, you're somehow always stuck. So although you know you have the potential, although you know you deserve more, although you know you can do so much better, although you have the vision and it's just more natural to you, but somehow your life is always stuck, maybe stuck on certain areas, maybe stuck on everything, that you don't feel fulfilled in any area of your life or any of the, the most important areas of your life. So if you have a pattern to always attract certain kind of men in your life, I'm talking to women, if you have a narcissistic father, and if you're the son, it applies to you as well, 100%. But to make it easier, I'll talk to the women. If you have attracted a man and married him and he turns out to be narcissistic, please, yes, do something about it for sure. Be aware, take action, do all of that. But please don't just leave it at that. Because what I want you to have is to have a fulfilling life. What happens next is more important, like what happens afterwards. So it's very important to go to the root of the problem. Your husband is only, your boyfriends are only results. They're not the reason. They're not the reason of your suffering. Yes, they make you suffer tremendously, but just cutting that off is not the solution to your liberation and fulfillment. So if you have a narcissistic father, for sure you attract men who has narcissistic tendencies. What happens is, what I see is that makes it even more challenging and hidden, is that the men that you attract might have very different tendencies or habits. They might have problems that your father didn't. So the fact that this is happening, you don't make the relation. You don't put the puzzle together. You don't see how it reflects your relationship with your father, what he did, and what you're having. This is the tricky one. like not a tricky one, by the way. It's really, really simple and easy to see. Like you can see it in an instant, and that's why I'm talking about it now. If you have suffered a lot in your relationships, or maybe you had one major relationship, you married the guy, years later you realize he is absolutely narcissistic, but the way he is being narcissistic to you might be very different. The story might be very different. He might seem as if he's even worse than your father. Usually the story is like this, so that you don't really understand the relationship. So it's like your subconscious makes it so hidden that you don't see it when you just look at it straightforward. So even if in your relationships you attract men that have very different lifestyles, very different characters, different ways that they make you feel less than, not enough, not worthy, look at the feeling. Always look at the feeling. And it doesn't have to be this like similar area of your life that they make you feel miserable. It might be, like it might be the other area of your life that they make you feel not enough. Your father might be making you feel like you're not enough work-wise, career, money, making money. And the narcissistic guys you tend to attract to yourself might have the tendency to make you feel like you're not enough as a woman. So that is the trick your subconscious plays with you so that it stays hidden and it continues, because that hurt child in you wants to be seen, like the girl, the shadow part of you wants to be seen. So not wants to be seen, wants to continue living, right? So she creates this where you don't see the relationship. If you put the dots together, you would take action more quickly. Look at the feeling. Look at how they make you feel. How did you feel? Just the feeling, not the story. How did you feel when you were around your father? What was your home feeling? How did you feel around him? Did you feel comfortable? Did you feel open? Did you feel safe? Did you feel safe to be seen in your authenticity? Did you feel safe to shine your light brightly? Did you feel safe to just be yourself, like your majestic self, just being that at the table, just opening your chest and just being yourself, speaking your truth, shining your light, showing your difference, showing your potential? Were you safe? And just give the other examples, whatever it is in your story. And how did you feel with your husband? And again, like if you're the son, whatever partner, gender, whatever it is, like apply it to your own situation. How did you feel when you were around your partner? How did they make you feel? Did you feel safe? Did you feel seen? Did you feel heard? Did you feel like you were enough? Did you feel you were worthy? It's usually 99% of the time, it's always the same. Always the same emotion, the same feeling. The universe, God loves you so much that it brings you situations like this for you to wake up. That's what I believe. Like God, universe loves you so much that they want you to wake up to your truth and make a change. That's why you have these challenges. So this is the third sign that you might have a father who has narcissistic tendencies, is certain areas of your life, although you know you have potential, you're somehow always stuck. There is always something not working. 1 step forward, 5 steps backwards. You don't know what's wrong. You don't know what you're not doing. Or maybe you think it's because of you and you just got to work harder. You just got to do harder and be harder or whatever it is. It's you're just swimming against the current. But it doesn't feel that way because what you were taught is life is chaotic and it's separation and it's so hard, so difficult. But that's not your nature. Like, that's actually not what you believe in. You know that you can be in the flow, you can create amazing things, you can create your abundance, love, joy, health, whatever you want, that it's possible for you. You know this inside of you, but you could not find why it hasn't been moving or why it's been so challenging, although you have this vision that you know that is closer to you. So in order to create that, my friend, we have to be very committed to ourselves to make a true change in our lives. And if we have had narcissistic abuse in our story, it's very important, like in our childhood, being a toddler, teenager, 20s, it's very important now that we create the clarity so that we can make the changes that are necessary. And I will be talking about this on one of the next episodes. If you want it to be sooner, please DM me at Kevela. It's in the show notes. And I would love to do an episode basically around like your story without sharing your name. Ask me any questions you have. I love you so much. We talk about all of this stuff, but you have the power to change it all. It all happened for you. It's all happening for you. And there's a way out, and you can do it with so much grace and love and compassion, firstly to yourself. And things will be more incredible than you can ever imagine. And you are always safe, and you are always enough. You've always been enough. I love you so much. I'll see you on the next one. My gorgeous listener, if you had any takeaways from this episode or from this podcast in general, I would love to know. Please share this episode with a few loved ones right now. You never know how they can benefit from something so small. And please take a screenshot of this episode and share on IG, tagging me at Kevela. That is KHEWELLA. Kevela. That is my GoddessWear brand, my Instagram page. I would love to know what your takeaway was or something you found inspirational or a confirmation you believe in as well. That would make my day. And you can always DM me if you have a topic or a certain question in mind that you want me to talk about. And give me a 5-star rating if you feel like it. That would help this podcast immensely to get the word out. I love you. See you on the next one. I want to see you shine your brightest.